with that, we'll be ready to get started soon. And please, just some etiquette. I mean, so if you could please make sure that you mute yourself. We have a rather bigger group, so that helps if we can just make sure that we are all on mute. So thank you. Oops. And with that, I think we'll get ready to get started here. So again, I mean, today we are going to look at the future of work in the green economy. So thank you for joining us. And this is certainly an exciting time for green jobs here in San Mateo County and also for the Bay Area at large. So my name is Christine Kohlzaug, and I'm the executive director at Sustainable San Mateo County. We are a nonprofit, and we've been putting these happy hour events, monthly events together since the pandemic started. So welcome again. So I think to get us started, I just brought up a definition of what green jobs really are, and that's taken from the United Nations Environment Program. But I mean, in a nutshell, really what it is all about is that when we are talking about green jobs, what we really mean is jobs that are aimed at protecting and promoting the environment. So that's kind of like what a green job is at its core. Oops, and I think with that, I just wanted to get started to give you a quick overview of our nonprofit. Some of you may already know us. We've been around for 30 years. Actually, we're celebrating our 30th anniversary this year. We are a local nonprofit. Our whole mission is to accelerate sustainability in the county and beyond. And for that, we do that through what we call our 3 E's lens approach, meaning that we believe that the green economy, social equity, and environmental sustainability have to go hand in hand in order for us to really achieve true sustainability. Wanted to give you a quick overview of our core programs. So I will say that they fall into 3 different buckets, and all are kind of like interconnected and interrelated. So we have programs that look at fostering sustainability education, information. That's where we have our happy hours fall under this bucket, for example. Then we have another bucket that deals with metrics and measurement, because it's very important to have like big sustainability goals. And at the same time, we need a roadmap to make sure that there is accountability and checkpoints along the way, because otherwise we are, let's be frank, we're never going to get there. So that's where we have our sustainability dashboard program that falls under this bucket, as well as our indicators report. I did want to mention briefly the indicators report. So each year we dive a little bit deeper into one specific topic. And this year we are looking at electrification of existing buildings. This is really kind of like the most important way that we can make sure to really reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and ultimately fight climate change. So stay tuned. We are going to have the indicators report launch event happening at the beginning of November. So we'll send out some more information soon. But I did want to go back to our program. So I mentioned like 3 buckets, and the one is all about tools and basically solutions. So that's where we have the Sustainability Ideas Bank. In a nutshell, that's a compendium of solutions that exist today that people have implemented and that can help us, basically meet our goal. So I will say that the Sustainability Dashboard Project and the Sustainability Ideas Bank work hand in hand. You can learn more about our programs by going to our website, and feel free to contact us anytime. So I'm going to kind of like skip this slide here. I mean, we've had like a significant impact on the ground, not just because of our program, but also because we as well do a fair deal of advocacy. And some of the causes that we are promoting in line with our mission and vision. And those include, for example, equitable public transportation for all, but also, combating plastic waste. And we helped to pass the foodware ordinance that was recently passed, that now that restaurants switch and do not give out plastic foodware anymore. And of course, I mean, we have been and continue to be very active on the REACH code front. So those are local green building codes that go further and really, require more stringent ordinances around electrification of buildings. So I think, speaking of electrification, I did want to point out, we do have a super fun and important photo and short video contest that's running right now, Electrify Everything. So I encourage you to go on our website at www.sustainablesanmateo.org to find out more about it. So that's up until the end of the month. And we really need your help, because not only will you really be doing some really positive impact in helping us to promote electrification, but it's a great way to also get creative and also, help spread out the word. Plus, you can win some fun gift cards. So hopefully many of you will be able to participate. So here we just have, we are a nonprofit, so we are depending upon your support. So if you feel so inclined, we are glad to get your support. You can also check, there is more information about sponsorship opportunities, and we're happy to talk more with you about those as well. So shout out to the happy hour team. Together with me today, we have Kirsten Keys. She is our board vice chair and the liaison for the happy hour, and has been doing a great job at moderating this event. Then I also wanted to say thanks to Leanne Eberhardt. She's one of our longtime super volunteer and has been helping not only on the happy hour, but the indicators report, as well as the dashboard project as well. And then Jill is our administrative assistant. And of course, we are always looking to grow the team. So if you want, come and join us. We would love to have you on. And I think with that, I will get started. Leanne, up to you.
All right. So as you know, those of you who have been here before, we have trivia, and the way you answer is either by raising your fingers, 1 for A, B, C, 3 for C, or you could put it in the chat. So our first question today, how many electricians does California have currently, and how many buildings are there? So A is 7.1 million electricians and 21 million buildings. B is 71,000 electricians and 14 million buildings. And C is 215,000 electricians and 7 million buildings. All right, let's light up that chat. Oh, and also, here we go. Let's see what we're looking at here. A lot more people. Okay, we're seeing a lot of B's. I see B's. Oh my goodness, a lot of B's. There's a C. Let's see, a couple C's. And all right, I'll leave it up to you. Oh, another C. Nobody likes the A. All right. And our answer is B. Very good for all you out there. 71,000 electricians and 14 million buildings. Who knew? Make you look at all the buildings that you walk by on a day-to-day building basis. That'll put it into perspective. Okay, next trivia question. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, jobs in environmental science and specialties are projected to grow by how much percentage over the next decade? All right. A, 2%, B, 5%, C, 10%. Are you all thinking positive out there? I like that. Lots of C's. Way to go. I was gonna say 100%, but that's not an option on this slide. So, all right. And the answer is B, 5%. So we got to change that answer. That's what I think anyway. All green jobs all the time. All right, Christine.
All right, thank you. So I cannot, I'm on full screen. So has Kirsten joined us yet?
Yes, hello, how are you? Good to be here.
All right, up to you.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for coming tonight. I'm just going to introduce our first speaker, who you can see here on the screen. Justine Burt is the founder and CEO of, that's my dog, Apricel, a consulting firm in the Bay Area, specializing in sustainability behavior change. And for 21 years, they've worked on alternative transportation, energy efficiency, and waste prevention projects. Her current clients include the City of Richmond and the Palo Alto Transportation Management Association. And she's the author of The Great Pivot, Creating Meaningful Work to Build a Sustainable Future, a book about creating millions of green jobs in the US. And we're so excited to have you here tonight. And I'm going to pass it on to Justine.
Kirsten, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Christine, for inviting me to speak at these happy hours. I love the trivia. That's such a great way to start a happy hour meeting. I want to share with you the project that we kicked off in June. This is for the City of Richmond, and City Council member Gail McLaughlin conceived of using ARPA economic recovery funds for this to address the COVID hit certain communities harder than even others, and Richmond is an interesting community at many levels. They have the Chevron refinery there, as I'm sure many of you know, which contributes to poorer air quality and is part of a conversation on the just transition. It has frontline communities, and by frontline, we mean hit first and worst by climate change impacts, lower average household income, and yet it has all these assets. Richmond has a deep water port, it has all these warehouses, it has manufacturing history. Richmond is where Rosie the Riveter was in World War II. It has a lot of opportunity, and at the same time has 11% of Contra Costa County's population, and yet a third of all the people on parole and probation. So the school to prison pipeline is a real thing, and employment's an off-ramp from the justice system. So there's all these opportunities. And as we're having my team and I, Safe Return Project that works with justice involved individuals, Groundwork Richmond that gives apprenticeship opportunities to youth, HRNA, economic advisors, MIG specializes in community engagement, Metama Consulting, data analysis, and Ruth Abbey and Associates, circular economy. We've got this amazing team, and we've been tasked with developing a Richmond Green Blue New Deal workforce development plan. Blue slides in there because Richmond has 32 miles of shoreline. So it was conceived of by one of the city council members, and now we're running with it. Next slide. So our goal is to catalyze at least 1,000 new green blue jobs for Richmond residents. Most of the people who work at the thousands of people who work at the Chevron refinery do not live in Richmond. So we're focusing on Richmond residents, creating 1,000 new green blue jobs that will build the just, equitable, resilient, and sustainable future we need. And COVID sure taught us how resilient many of our systems are not. So we're looking at opportunities to catalyze job creation in energy, buildings, transportation, materials, water, food, and restoring nature. And we're having a lot of fun. Next slide. It seems like a lot of people think job creation is this mysterious thing, but what I've been learning is there are really 6 elements to it. And if you can pull these together, you can create the jobs. What you see here is a picture of IDON, with Paraba reclaimed wood. And what Idon and his team do are when a homeowner has a dead or diseased tree on their property, instead of calling a tree service and saying, could you remove this? And the tree service turns it into a pile of firewood and sawdust. He comes out and takes the tree, cuts it into slabs, and then makes these beautiful pieces of custom furniture, like this conference table that's going to go into a startup in San Francisco, or chairs for a Mexican restaurant, or a cabinet. And there's so much more he could do if he had more funding and more space and more staff. So the project elements we're trying to pull together, the synthesis part of this work is people, projects, champion, training, demand, and investment. And so people has to do with who wants to do meaningful work, who's interested in which projects. Then scoping the projects, what exactly are we trying to do? Upcycle plastics, number 5 plastics into reusable plastic pallets for one of the many distribution centers in Richmond. Richmond has huge distribution centers that are dozens of acres large for US Postal Service, UPS, Amazon's got a big distribution center, and FedEx is going to be locating a 29-acre facility there soon. Instead of those stringer wooden pine pallets that we've all seen that last 3 to 5 uses, they could be using recycled plastic reusable pallets that last a decade and hundreds to thousands of trips. So who are the people who want meaningful work? Scope the projects. Who are the champions? Who's local? Who thinks it would be a really great idea to have wind turbine manufacturing in Richmond, a place with a port that's halfway between 2 different big offshore wind locations? Who are the champions who have a big Rolodex and are charismatic and feel strongly about the project? Then there's training. Department of Labor has all this training funding that comes down to the EDD in California and then goes to the city workforce development director. And Tamara Walker in Richmond is like, I don't know much about green jobs. Tell me what you want. What do you need training for? If there's funding that's been $50 million of funding that's been lined up, they're ready to hire, they need training, just let me know. The 5th element is demand. Is there demand for that good or service that people would be working on? And then finally, where's the investment going to come from? And there's a spectrum of returns from, if you're building a wildlife overpass in Los Angeles over a highway where mountain lions are trying to cross the highway to get from one habitat to another, there's no return on investment for that per se. It just needs to happen. Versus on the other end of the spectrum, some projects have a competitive return on investment. So by all means, let's let the private financial sector invest in it and get the return. So those are the 6 elements we're looking at synthesizing. Next slide. This is a picture of Rich City Rides, this amazing nonprofit that has accepted donations of 3,200 bicycles that they've fixed up and then given out to people in the community to get this kind of critical mass of bicycles out on the street and people riding. They have rides every Sunday afternoon if you get a chance to go. Najari, the executive director, has a boombox and he plays house music, and then 20 of us bike around the city for 5 or 6 miles. It's a moving party. It's a lot of fun. They're doing amazing work. The deliverables for this project, in case you want to do it in your own community, are basically these 6 things: a Green New Deal workforce development plan, an implementation strategy for the city, where the city has said to us, we're stretched so thin, we don't have enough staff, make it easy for us. If another city's already done an ordinance for building deconstruction, just give us a copy of it, we'll change the name and put it in front of the city council. So workforce development plan, implementation strategy. 3rd one is community toolkit, and it's basically for the community. If they're aspiring entrepreneurs, people want to start a business, a toolkit for them to catalyze green jobs. We've got National Renewable Energy Lab doing a building decarbonization jobs analysis for us, developing 3 different scenarios for building decarbonization. Do you want to, like Berkeley, just do residential, 4 stories or fewer? Do we want to look at all buildings, industrial, commercial, and residential? What are kind of the scenarios, and how many jobs would each create? And then we're doing an economic development insight analysis along with a community profile. What are Richmond's strengths? But what's really critical in this is the community workshops. I have my own ideas because I wrote a book a few years ago about creating millions of green jobs, but what's important is vetting it with the community. Surveys, workshops, focus groups to find out maybe there's no interest in circular, economy or recycling jobs. Maybe people want to focus on electrifying transportation. We'll see what the community is interested in. Next slide. So I'm really excited to explore offshore wind turbine manufacturing in Richmond, because it has a port, because it has rail lines and ferries, and the opportunity to handle ships and distribution centers. It's right on the bay. So given this manufacturing history, and that wind turbine blades for these big windmills are over 250 feet long, 350 feet long. They shouldn't be manufactured in the Central Valley and then put on long trucks to try to get through cloverleafs and down highways. They should be manufactured right at a port. And so we're exploring, as part of the just transition, does it make sense? Is their interest in Richmond? And I'm hearing yes so far. These are the high road jobs that are going to compete with the fossil fuel jobs that pay enough to support a family and have benefits and have career development. These are the high road jobs that we're looking at. High speed rail, offshore wind turbines. There's 21 gigawatts of potential that's been analyzed off the coast of California, 14 gigawatts, and 1 gigawatt supplies enough power for 1 million homes. 21 gigawatts off the coast, 14 in Northern California, Humboldt, Del Norte, Mendocino, and 7 gigawatts off Morro Bay and Diablo Canyon. So this is the gold rush right now. And cities that position themselves now to manufacture these will provide some of the important green jobs in the future. Next slide. Moxine Energy is located in Richmond, and they've hired 66 people already. They want to hire another 140 by the end of the year, and then a few hundred early next year. They are securing their Series B funding, and what they do is they manufacture batteries that replace diesel generators that can be used on movie sets, on construction sites, for utility lineman trucks. And so they're hiring, and I'm talking to them about working with the nonprofits that support justice-involved individuals. They just made a commitment to 10 to 15% of their hires will come from this community, and it's very exciting. So I've been asking Richmond, what are the products and services that the world needs? Batteries are part of it. And how does Richmond offer that so that the world beats a path to their door? Next slide. And then there's also the twin goal of building wealth. Richmond, a lot of the community members, families have been redlined out of home ownership for decades, and this is a chance to catch up and build wealth in the community. If they can add an accessory dwelling unit or lift their house up and build another floor underneath so that they can rent out, this is the way we build wealth. And so we're looking at all electric additions and green building to do that. Next slide. And then final slide is zero waste economy. So what kinds of jobs can we create? Picking up surplus prepared food. There are all these apps where people can say, I've got 10 trays of surplus prepared food. Can somebody come pick it up from Replate? But somebody needs to drive over there and get it. And if we could pay them to do it, we'll divert more surplus prepared food. Refillable bottles for beer and wine could be another opportunity. Building deconstruction. There's so many jobs within the zero waste economy that we could be adding. Last slide. I believe is vote for your favorite. So here's another chance for your input. We have 4 pretty different logos. Which one's your favorite? Want to put that in the chat? Love to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, so please, if you could just add in the chat, and we'll give like a minute for people to make mind.
Sorry, I'm over time, Christine. I just love talking about this.
Yeah, so inspiring.
That's really all I have. So my email is nextthe-great-pivot@gmail.com if you have any questions or comments. And thank you for the opportunity.
And we'll make sure to have the slides available from all our speakers.
Wonderful. That's great. And Justine, thank you so much for that. I think we will have questions after we have our presentations, and please feel free, everybody, to post questions in our chat. And let's see. And now we'll have, thanks so much again. Dante Almas Benson is the outreach manager for Climate Careers Bay Area, Rising Sun Center for Opportunity. And he is an East Bay native, born and raised in Berkeley. He has over 10 years experience working in nonprofits, and he previously operated the Berkeley Farmers Market and supported a youth development program. He's currently conducting outreach across 9 Bay Area counties on behalf of Rising Sun. His role is to sign up clients for the Greenhouse Call program, which is a no-cost in-home retrofit service operated by the locally based youth staff. So we're excited to hear from you and to hear the details about Rising Sun and what you're doing. And it's great to hear all the things that people are doing around the Bay Area, because it's something we can incorporate in any county. So Dante, take it away.
Hello, thank you for having me. We're going to talk a little bit about the program we run, which is called Climate Careers, which is one of the 2 programs that's featured here at Rising Sun Center for Opportunity. We are based in Oakland, California, although we operate across the 9 Bay Area counties. Currently, we are done with our summer program and are moving into kind of a planning phase, but always looking for more opportunities to connect with folks such as yourself. So to give you some background about what we do, we operate a program called Climate Careers, which is a youth development program focused really on workforce development and creating opportunities for young people across the Bay Area to get into the workforce, essentially in these entry-level positions where they operate a service called a Greenhouse Call. And can we go to the next slide? So Greenhouse Call is an in-home retrofitting service. We essentially would go into a residence, do a walkthrough and install different measurements, check to see if the toilet has any leaks, the water usage for each faucet, and looked for any opportunities for replacements and upgrades for the home. We do an installation portion, which includes a series of several measures, including LED light bulbs, installing a smart power strip, installing aerators for bathroom and kitchen sink, as well as shower heads. And then finally, from that point, we kind of check in, we look around the residence, see what other opportunities there are to do upgrades, see what other potential rebates the client would be eligible for through work with some of our partners, and leave them with additional resources and write up a full report. Next slide. In the pandemic, we've had to pivot our model. This is traditionally something that we've done in person. We'd be going into homes and doing this installation. In the last 2 years, we have had an alternative, which is the virtual version of our program. And we say virtual because the assessment portion is done via a survey online. In this situation, clients would fill out an assessment survey or talk to us over the phone, and then they would be sent a kit with essentially the same items that we would do in the installation, but instead they would be asked to install themselves. From there, once we have the survey completed, we can also give you some tips around what other programs you may be eligible for. This year, in 2022, we were able to begin offering our in-person service, and we had a hybrid model where we offered in-person services to 3 counties of the Bay Area, specifically the border of San Francisco and San Mateo County, Alameda County, and Santa Clara. We, during the summers, operate out of remote offices. We generally have around 4 regularly. Before the pandemic, we were operating at a higher capacity. As of late, we've kind of consolidated some of our operations. We are in the phase now where we are continuing to send out virtual kits. So if anyone is interested in getting some of these resources, they could apply for this program and they could sign up to get a kit sent to their residents. We will continue to do that for the next month or 2. And go to the next slide. So these are some of the materials that are included in the kit, same materials that are included in the installation portion. The real point of our work is to create more sustainable households across the Bay Area, to help people lower their utility bills and to give them access to these materials, which they may not have incentives to get otherwise. The entire program is it comes at no cost. It's a part of a rebate series. So anyone who pays utility bill in the Bay Area is eligible for the service if they are in a residence and not a commercial building. So it's definitely built for renters. And as a matter of fact, it's targeted for renters, whether that be a duplex, 4-plex, apartment building, you name it. Because these measures are not permanent, you don't need to get the permission from a landlord to make these upgrades yourself, or perhaps to have someone come in and do the installation. Yeah, the rebate funding essentially comes through tax that is taken out of your utility bill, and that goes into a general fund, and then by applying for this service, you are getting that money back. So no, thank you for asking that clarifying question. There are no income requirements. We do try to guarantee our services more for at-risk communities, English second language communities, and seniors, specifically seniors who may have more challenges doing the installation themselves. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So if anyone here is interested in the service, you can go ahead and fill out this survey. You can hit this link or take a picture with your phone on the QR code and scan that. You can also contact us with either that email address or the phone number, and I'll be sure to leave this information with you, or you'll be able to look at this in the slides after. Just really thankful to be here. I'm always looking for more opportunities to connect with people more directly. So thank you so much for taking the time to listen to a little bit about our program. I also want to talk about an additional program we have, which follows a summer program. Our youth program happens generally between May and ends in August, although we have an extension of our program, which is called an externship. We go to the next slide. And our externship program, this model in 2022, is 140 hours paid real world experience, where we take our youth staff who work with us internally and place them at partner organizations and allow them to work there for another 2 months so they can get experience in a different field, network, and work beyond what we're able to offer them specifically at Rising Sun. The cool part about this is they are still Rising Sun employees, and they are still paid through Rising Sun payroll. So if you, or say we partner with another organization, we're footing the bill for them for an internship position, essentially. Go ahead to the next slide. So here are some things that our externs could get from the participation of the program, specifically deepening the knowledge of environmental issues, working with different organizations that have different ways to approach these issues, expanding their networks, refining transferable skills into different fields, additional experience to list on their resume, and exposure to additional career pathways. Amazing. I've seen your comment in the chat. Definitely will follow up with you. So that's a little bit about our externs position. I think I have one more slide. Here are some example hosts for people who we've worked with. Our externship position actually just started last year, so we are in our second year of piloting our externship. Always looking for more partners. As we move into San Mateo County, we're definitely looking to make more partners there. Right now, I think the bulk of our partnerships are in Alameda County. And I don't know if we have one more slide. We might. Go ahead and check. Yep. And then here's some timelines to give you an example of what the externship looks like. Our internal staff, these managers, are still the people that our externs will be reporting to. So that's a little bit about our externship position as well. That's most of what I have to talk about today. It's a lot of information. Always happy to answer more questions offline. Definitely feel free to reach out. My contact information will be here, and I am trying to do my best to make more connections in San Mateo County and to offer our services more directly to you all. So thank you so much for taking the time to hear me, and thank you for having me.
Hello, Dante. Thank you so much for your presentation. And it's just exciting to hear what different people are doing around the Bay Area. I did want to ask you, how many youth can participate in your program?
Yeah, great question. So we have multiple offices. Generally, these offices have the capacity between like 10 to 15 youth, I believe. We've had some challenges in staffing some areas, and other areas they're a lot more efficient. So it's really about our availability. And to be more specific, the youth that we work with are generally aged between 16 and 22. So in the later ages of high school or earlier college students, this is really an opportunity for like an entry-level position. So we encourage youth that don't have previous work experience to join us. And it is a temporary position. It's 3 months through the summer with a potential externship position, which extend another 2 months. And if you have any young people who are interested in this type of work, feel free to go ahead and contact us. We could definitely talk to them about putting in an application next spring and helping them transition into these positions.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, both of you. I think I'd like to ask one question to both of you now to get your opinion on this. And it's something that Terry posted in the chat. What do you, each of you, think are some green jobs that will be most in demand when the Inflation Reduction Act is implemented? Justine, do you want to go first?
Great question. So the Inflation Reduction Act is 725 pages long, and I think we're just still untangling it and figuring out what's going to happen with the $369 billion for climate and clean energy. So it's going to take a while to kind of filter out from the federal government to the state to the local level. But if they're trying to focus on climate and clean energy solutions, it's going to be, obviously, we need to upgrade our grid, which was designed a century ago, and there's a lot of work on the behind the meter and in front of the meter. So energy, buildings, all electric building retrofits, and transportation, that alone could take a lot of it. And since California is about a little over 10% of the U.S. population, we should get about $37 billion of that. So we'll see how it shakes out in the next 6 months. But I've got spies at the DOE and REL who are ready to give me information as soon as it's available.
And just to follow up to that, when you say 37 billion, over what period of time? And is that?
I thought that was 10 years. Correct me if I'm wrong. I thought 369 billion was over 10 years, but yeah, I honestly have not read the 725-page Inflation Reduction Act.
Nodding from Terry, so yes, I think it is.
Yeah, it is 10 years, but it does most of it will kick in early in that period, I think.
And Dante, what about you? What do you think on that?
I don't even know where to start. I think probably electrification and retrofits is my answer, given my little pigeonholed access to this work.
Yes. Okay. Terrific. We're going to have more questions, but I believe that we have David Morrow from IBEW here. And we wanted to give him an opportunity to speak to tell us what IBEW is, so everybody knows, and to talk about the work that he anticipates that the electricians will be doing here with this Recovery Act. So take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Kirsten, and thank you, Christine. We had a good chat last week with Christine. It was very good, I believe, and I think we made some inroads. So anybody that's not familiar with the IBEW, we're the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. We are the original electricians. We started, it goes full circle. We started in 1872 as linemen. Of course, that's where it all started. Now we've evolved into, inside wiremen, which are construction electricians. We have a voice data video a section of people do all that. So we are your full service electrical needs, for over 134 years now. Here in local 617 in San Mateo County, we've been here since 1908, servicing the county since then. Right now, today we have 1,700 members. Out of that 1,700 members, we have 50 of them that actually operate and maintain the air train out at SFO. We have about 450 sound and communications technicians that do the voice data video, which means, security, fire alarm, all your internet connections, Zoom meetings, all that stuff. And then we have 1,200 what we call inside wiremen. Those are construction electricians. Out of those 1,200 that we have now, 200 of them are apprentices, about 220 of our apprentices. But we have access, since we are an international organization. We take workers from all over the United States and Canada. We go to Canada. We also have outposts in Guam and Puerto Rico. So we are now sending people out to Puerto Rico to help with the disaster, the hurricane that took care of that. And the electricians from all over the country will go out of Miami, and they'll do that. But since we are electricians, we've been at the forefront of solar, battery storage, energy storage, offshore wind, charging stations, the infrastructure. So right now, we'll do all the building electrifications. Our contractors, we have over 135 contractors that are EVITP certified. For anybody that's not familiar with that, that's electrical vehicle infrastructure training program, which was started by the IBEW and Penn State University. It's been accepted all over the United States as the certification you need to work on your chargers, electric chargers, your battery storage. So what we do now is, for the last few years since this came out, every apprentice that goes through our program, when they graduate from our apprenticeship down in, we have our training center in San Carlos, everyone goes through the EVITP training, which is a 24-hour program, I believe, and then they get certified. We also offer that to the to the non-union contractors and electricians if they want to be certified. We do not discriminate against non-unions. We train them up also. We are the Northern California Training Center for EVITP. We do, our knowledge of solar and battery storage, which is just starting to come out, is immense. I was at there's a group called the CURE, which is California Unions for Renewable Energy. I was at a meeting in Sacramento yesterday. We have secured probably close to, I'm going to guess because it's 8 pages of projects, from wind farms, solar, utility scale solar, utility scale battery storage, all through the Imperial Valley, Kern County, Stanislaus County. A lot of that stuff now is all being built in those areas. I don't want to call them remote areas, but areas where there's more space in San Mateo County. But we work close with Peninsula Clean Energy to help them procure contractors as they roll out their community programs. I do that now for our union. I'm kind of like the business development type person for our local. What else? I mean,
That's great.
Yeah, we're one-stop shop, and union started the diversity, equity, accessibility, and inclusion. We are the original people that did that. Right now, just throughout all unions, I'm not talking just electrical unions, but all unions, we are a very diverse group of individuals, male, female, every race we have, every race that's available, we have them in our programs. Right now in our apprenticeship program, we are 50% Latino, and we have probably 10% African Americans, 10% Pacific Islanders. We do not discriminate. We also have community outreach that we go to the communities of underserved communities and recruit from there, and we try our best to get them into the program. Through the San Mateo County Building Trades. We also offer our trade introductions programs. Just last July, Senator Becker and Assemblyman Mullen procured us $500,000 to keep that program up and running for anybody that wants to join that program. They sign up, they do an interview process, and they're accepted into the program. I believe it's a 12-week program. They go through, the instructor is an ex-IBEW member. He's one of our leading instructors. So they do kind of gravitate towards the IBEW. Out of I think 200 something graduates of that program, I think 90 of them have been accepted into our program. The plumbers have about 50, and then sheet metal goes, and it goes down from there. I seen somebody said, what is our percentage of women? Our percentage of women right now in our apprenticeship program is about probably 8%. And
It's kind of low. Oh, great. That's something that's good to know.
It's a start.
Yeah,
we really recruit heavily to the women, where that's one of our big pushes in the IBEW. In fact, at our last convention in Chicago in May, we have elected our first international woman vice president. So we've been making inroads. There are numerous women in our organizations that hold positions of office. So we are getting out there and getting them. It is a trade. It's hard, but women are very successful in our organizations. The ones that make it and really want to do it can do it.
Absolutely.
We really do.
Thank you, David. That is we're going to come back. I do want to, I'm mindful of the time, and
Okay, no problem.
so much for all your work. We, as somebody, Justine put in there, electricians are on the front lines of the battle to stabilize the climate, and that is so true.
Yeah, we started in 1870. We see, they let us,
Amazing.
we'd have started this a long time ago, we probably wouldn't be in this problem.
Probably. So
I
yeah,
just thought of that today, by the way. I go,
I do want to introduce Diane Bailey as well from Menlo Spark. And please, everybody, feel free to post comments or questions in our chat. And Diane Bailey, we are so happy to have you this evening. You've been with Menlo Spark for, so many years now. It feels like a long time. I know, maybe a decade even. But please, I can see you in here and you're muted, but we would love to have you participate. So let me know. And if not, I want to kind of come back to our other folks here. Justine, with all the work that's going on, I think when you talked about, the wind turbines and things being built in the Central Valley and then transported, and how it makes more sense to have them built in the port. Can you just tell us where that's moving? Is that happening actually? Or is there just interest in it right now?
So as you all know, Europe is way ahead of us in terms of offshore wind, and there's just so much potential. Any coastline, West Coast, East Coast, Gulf Coast, Great Lakes have a lot of offshore wind potential, and the Biden administration is prioritizing studying where the potential is, and just working through the concerns about where the turbine should be located. I mean, if they're just megawatts large, then the California Energy Commission has delivered the first of 4 reports in terms of the offshore wind potential, finding there's 21 gigawatts, but then they've got to navigate the issues of the U.S. military would like to be able to send submarines through certain places. So you want to make sure you don't put the, what kinds of wind turbines would they be? Would they be floating, or would they be anchored to the bottom? There's the fishing industry, especially the part of the fishing industry that are big trawlers that basically strip mine the bottoms of the oceans. They don't want, turbines in certain places. We've got to be mindful of fisheries that are endangered or collapsing. We don't want to locate it there. There may be Native American concerns about sacred spaces, sacred land, or waterways. Like, there's a lot to negotiate and navigate, and yet there are some tax credits that go away at the end of 2025. So the CEC has a few years to kind of work through all this, and then let the games begin. So we need a lot more renewable energy. We need a lot more energy storage. And what I'm looking at with Richmond is, what does the world desperately need? Renewable energy and battery storage, electrifying transportation, building retrofits. These are jobs that we can bring that we can have in the United States, because you can't send your house to China and have it retrofitted to be all electric and then bring it back from China. There are a lot of green jobs that have to happen here. And so what are those? Who are the champions? Where's the funding going to come from?
Yeah,
there are a lot of questions. So it's a matter of getting all these jigsaw puzzle pieces together. And I don't have a box top for what it looks like, but the more pieces I get, the more the image emerges of what we should be doing.
Yeah, and I recall reading, not reading, maybe seeing on 60 Minutes, a city on the East Coast now, is it an island off the East Coast that's gone completely electric?
Block Island has offshore wind off their coast.
What is it? Block Island?
Block Island, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who's gone all electric, but there's so much work that needs to be done. So let's put these electricians to work. I'm not willing to climb up a tower or down a manhole or do all this kind of scary work, but there are a lot of people who would love to. And so let's get the projects defined for them and set up the funding and make it happen.
Right, absolutely. Dante, did you want to add anything to that? I know you're located in East Bay, Oakland.
Oh, I think Justine covered a lot. I don't have too much to add. Thank you for asking.
Oh, absolutely. Great. And then, so Justine, I'll go to Justine and then Dante. What is the number one thing that we should all be doing right now, if we could do something individually?
Great question. I think the time has passed to rely on people to do one little thing each. We need larger scale change.
Mhm.
And so figure out how to work together, how to synthesize in your own community what you feel like the opportunities are, and then to pull together the people who really want to do meaningful work. There just aren't enough green jobs. When there's a recycling manager position in Alameda County, 400 people apply for it and 399 don't get it. There are a lot of people who want to do work where every morning they can't wait to get out of bed and go do it. And we need more opportunities. This is the way to pivot harder and faster towards this just, equitable, resilient, and sustainable future we need. And so we need champions and advocates in every community, figuring out what their passion and their priority is, and then pulling the resources together to make it happen. Because small scale, remember those books, like 100 things you can do to save the environment, like recycle your Post-it notes? That time is over. We need harder, faster driving towards the sustainable future. So be creative, work together. Let's all figure it out.
Yeah, I think it's so true. The time for individual is sort of over, but it has to be bigger. Dante, anything you want to add to that?
It's hard following up with Justine's input. Very, very on point, on the nose. I would say look into local policy, local politics. Try to figure out who your representatives are, advocate for them to support for things directly in your community, in your district. Speak up, use those platforms. I think there's a lot of challenging situations that we experience when we hear about climate policy on a federal or state level, and how slow those things are to move forward and how many changes are made before that anything is actually passed. But we have the ability to really be more involved in a local level, and we as citizens in our own communities should take that responsibility and utilize that.
I think every community, I mean, you're in Alameda County, for example.
For sure.
And do all the cities, or what percentage of the cities have a climate action plan at this point?
I wish I knew Berkeley does, and that one even took a long time to push forward. I couldn't tell you about Oakland.
Okay, I just meant in the East Bay, actually, not just Oakland, but
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I could get back to you.
okay, sounds good. And Terry, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that Sustainable San Mateo County is working with local residents to try to convince cities to do more in the policy realm for combating climate change and other environmental issues. One big push that's taking place in San Mateo and Santa Clara counties right now is electrification of buildings. And that is something that Diane Bailey helped get started years ago, and it has really been very effective. There are now more than 50 cities in the state that have passed some sort of ordinance, either banning or restricting gas use. And it's a really good thing you can do for your home. So if anybody wants to work with us on issues, we are all ears.
Absolutely. And I see in the chat, Kaya put in there, Kaya, you can carbon pricing. Let's all advocate for it on the national level. Yeah, very important. Let me see. Do we have any?
Sorry to kind of like jump in, but I wanted to see if I see that we have Kim Springer with us here today with CCAD. And I know that they've been having like all sorts of interesting pilot projects. So I was wondering if Kim, you may want to say a few words about those.
You talking about the electrification case studies?
Well, and also, I mean, I know that you have like pilot project with like young startup companies that are providing solutions, green solutions. I mean, some are like in addressing climate change and others are tackling other issues. So not to put you on the spot, but I think it would be really interesting to attendees to learn a little bit more.
Yeah, well, too late. I'm already on the spot, but yeah, sure. I don't have any specific pilots that are going on around that. I mean, I'm always looking for opportunities. One of the things that I found recently, and you guys can look it up, it's a company called SkyCool, and they came out of Stanford and they developed a film that actually reflects heat, not only reflects it, but sends it into outer space where it's 0 degrees Kelvin, and it's a really old historically technology, but something that they've come up with. And so I've been trying to get them to pilot a bus shelter, some bus shelters, to see whether or not we can drop the temperature and try and make, public transportation, waiting for public transportation, more comfortable. So I'm always looking for those kinds of connections, and because I work for the City County Association of Governments now, and it's kind of more focused on transportation, but we're still working on energy and climate and water and equity. So yeah, I don't have anything specifically. We did some case studies on electrification. It was very interesting, 10 different homes, and a soup to nuts review of what they would need to go through in order to electrify their house completely, including solar and battery, and then the financial analysis behind it, and what it takes in terms of working with a homeowner or property owner to it started with some focus groups, which really identified that a lot of people don't want to electrify their homes. They don't want to take a first step because they figure if they do one thing that their panel capacity will affect their ability to do the entire house. So they kind of want to plan from the very beginning to do the entire project. So we set up a pilot around that to see what the results would be. And it's already having some effect on the California Energy Commission and some of their knowledge. And so that's been positive, but I'm always trying to do those.
Great. Thank you, Kim, for sharing that. And CCAG is the City and County Association of Governments, which is all of our San Mateo cities and the county working together. So we're really happy to have you here with us too, Kim. Nice to see you. And we are winding down, but I would like to ask Justine, if you wouldn't mind kind of closing us. This is such an interesting topic, and I appreciate what you said. The time for individual action is probably over. Can you just kind of leave us with we can do this, and or not? The world is not lost. We're not on fire yet, and we can still kind of make it. I'd love to hear your kind of closing thoughts on that.
I want to deputize everybody here to look for opportunities, because since I published my book in 2019, I've had conversations with my elected officials from the state legislature to Congress, and they've all said to me, "What do you want?" Of course I support green jobs. Of course I support a Green New Deal. So as much as you can get specific and think about what's your area of passion, which topic do you care about, and what do you want to see happen? Do the research, figure out what we should be asking for. And if you can change one thing, if you can advocate, find an ordinance that's been done in another city and introduce it to your city council members. Say, if we just change the name on this, and let's tailor it for our city and get it done. What would that one thing be? Because everyone I've talked to, the 35 interviews I've done within the city of Richmond, to nonprofits and people who hold the purse strings, are like, "What do you want?" So if we can just figure out what we want and get specific about it, then we can make it happen. So you all are deputized to help catalyze green jobs in your own communities.
I appreciate that. And I know we have our ideas bank, and I think we need to make sure we have some really concrete things in there about green new jobs. So I thank you for that. And Dante, any closing statement real quickly?
I have no closing statement, but I just want to thank everyone again for joining us, and thank you so much for the opportunity of being here.
Thank you both for all you're doing. It's a tough task. So thank you very much. Christine, I'm going to pass it back to you, and thank everybody for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. Fantastic on the ton. I just wanted to leave you and remind you that we have the Electrify Everything contest. So please, 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 I heard a lot of we need to raise our awareness, so that would be really helpful as well. So again, it's like a push and pull. So hopefully you'll be able to participate. And then I think with that, I just wanted to remind you that we are going to have our next happy hour coming up in October. That's going to be October 19th. So please save the date. I'm thinking, gosh, I mean, we always have like so much like content, great content, and I'm thinking 1 hour is really not enough to scratch the surface of things. So anyways, I mean, please save the date and thank you for participating. We'll post the PowerPoints from our speakers and really look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for joining us and thank you, speakers.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good night.